So I want to tell you how we're going to use and learn AutoCAD. During these training videos, we're going to mainly rely on the command line, and that's down here. This is the command line here. Now some of you may have an interface where the command line's been moved, and you can move the command line around and you can accidentally close it down, so don't do that. But mainly the command line appears at the bottom here. We're going to be relying on typing in our commands at the keyboard, and whenever you type in a command you have to finish with the enter key. So if the command was copy, you do copy enter. Now of course what we could do is we could use all of these buttons up the top here, okay? But really all those do is to issue the command that we can issue at the keyboard. And the reason for that is that AutoCAD was designed before Windows was even available. So Windows came in around about 1990, AutoCAD came in about 1980. So you can imagine AutoCAD was around and designed before Windows. So these buttons at the top here are just a convenient way of issuing the commands. Now yes, there are a little bit more to the buttons than just the commands that we can issue. But in the main, the fastest way of using AutoCAD is through the keyboard. Now, on the top here, we've got a whole bunch of menus. And if I click through here, you can see that the ribbon changes as I go through. Of course, what that would mean is that you have to remember every single instance of every single button and every single menu. Now of course you could do that, and you could go through and you could have a look at all of these extra pull down items. But really, once you know what the commands are, you can go for the commands on the keyboard very easily and very quickly. So that's the quick way of using AutoCAD. So I'm going to teach you what the commands are so you can hear the commands. The commands are in English so that they make sense, so you can understand the logic. Most commands have a shortcut so that you don't have to worry about typing errors. Okay, so for instance, move is M, okay, and erase is E. So they're really easy, they're not really difficult shortcuts. And what we need to do is we need to take those shortcuts on board, because typing in M for move avoids typing errors, okay, and it also reduces time. And if you know what the command is and you get straight to it, it speeds up your drafting inside AutoCAD, okay? So you can be quick and fast and accurate if you learn the keyboard. So looking at the interface inside AutoCAD, right the way across the top here, this is the button bar, as we said before. And over here on the top left hand corner, we've got two tabs. And these tabs allow us to go to the Start menu, and this is the Start Drawing menu. These are our previously used drawings, and this is your online presence. And any of the other drawings that you've got open appear in a tab across the top here. And over here on the right is the Properties dialog box. Now you probably started AutoCAD without this actually, where this Properties dialog box wasn't open, probably like this. And the Properties dialog box is a fantastic dialog box to have open, and it's just easy to get hold of the Properties dialog box. You've got a right-click menu here, so you can select Properties dialog box here. And we're going to be talking about that later. How you access it, how you use it, and why it's important. And down here on the right hand side, there's a whole bunch of buttons here, and you can see them. Some of them are turned on, some of them are grey. Grey is turned off. Okay, now I'm going to suggest that you don't fiddle with these buttons at all, because these buttons alter the way in which AutoCAD operates. And until you know what these buttons do, you could be turning on or off something absolutely fundamental. So I'm going to suggest that you don't change these buttons at all until we've discussed them and you know exactly what's going on. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can do. Okay, there's all sorts of little menus that you can access, but when you know what those menus are and why you're going for them, brilliant. But until that, avoid those buttons down in the bottom right hand corner completely. And over here on the bottom left hand corner, we've got some buttons and tabs that allow you into paper space. So here we've got the A4 layout, and here we've got an A1 layout. So I'm just going to open up each of those just by clicking on the tabs. Those tabs are a little bit like the tabs that you might find in Excel, for instance, if you know Excel. And that just allows you to separate pages. Okay, and then this is paper space, and then we can go back to model space. Okay, now paper space is used for printing and saving. Okay, so you could save out to PDF, for instance, or you could print out to your printer. And we're going to cover all of that in a later video. But if we come back to model space, okay, right at the bottom here, we have something we mentioned earlier, the command line. Okay, now this is probably the most important area of AutoCAD, and this is how you talk to AutoCAD and how AutoCAD talks to you. You type in at the keyboard and press enter, and that's your way of talking to AutoCAD, and it appears in the command line. And then AutoCAD responds to what you want to do. Okay, so for instance, if you typed in erase, okay, and enter, there we are. There's the erase command in the command line. And then AutoCAD says, okay, what do you want to do? Please select some objects. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll select some objects. And then when you've finished selecting, you just press enter. Okay, and the objects have been erased. So that's a pretty straightforward way of operating. Okay, now you can also get all of that stuff back. Okay, don't worry about the fact that you've just done something. If you've made a mistake, you can undo. And there's a lot of different ways that you can undo. For instance, U enter, so that's the U on the keyboard, the letter U, and press enter, and that's undo. You've got Control Z, which is a standard Windows command, that's undo. And up here in the top left hand corner, can you see this button that's pointing over to the left? Okay, that's also undo. Brilliant. So you've got a lot of control over what's going on. Okay, and AutoCAD has got around about 20 undos that it can remember. And I think you can alter in preferences, I think, alter how many undos it can go back through. So there we go. That's the interface. And that's how we're going to be using AutoCAD. So quick summary, okay, although these buttons are useful, we're not going to be using very many of them. The properties dialog box is absolutely essential. Once you get used to it, it's brilliant. So we're going to have that open on the right hand side. Don't touch these buttons down here until we've discussed how to use them. And right in the middle, the command line, we're going to be typing our commands in at the keyboard. We're going to be using shortcuts, and when we find out what those shortcuts are, I'll tell you as we go. Then learning the shortcuts will make you more efficient, okay, and avoid things like spelling mistakes. Okay, great. So that's the way we're going to be using AutoCAD in these tutorials.